3 years, bait chuckers. 3 years. That's how long we've been waiting to unbox the shooting star. What's going on, bait chuckers? Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Michael. We do all kinds of fun bait making shenanigans here on the channel. If it sounds like the building is falling over in today's video, that's because it probably is. Area 52 is an airport hangar after all, so it's really windy outside today. And apparently the flashing decided it wanted to join today's video. So this is what we have to deal with. I apologize, but this is the only time I got to record this. If you are new to the channel though, please do consider subscribing. We are 200 subscribers away from hitting our first goal of 10,000 subscribers here on YouTube. If you're watching from your television, I'll make it real easy for you. I put a QR code here in the upper right hand corner of your screen. If you enjoy bait making content, please consider subscribing to the channel. The more growth we get here on YouTube helps us produce more content for all of you. And even though Area 52 sounds like it's falling over because it is, well, just an airplane hangar, it also happens to be an airplane hangar that has over 20 individual 20 amp circuits, two of which I had installed right here where the shooting star is going to be. So I actually received the shooting star back in October of 2023. It was actually one of the first pieces of equipment I actually put on order when I started my YouTube channel. I started the channel January of 23. I ordered the shooting star along with an air vise and a hot plate for Fishing All Out, and just never got around to setting it up because I never had the power in my old shop at my house. And then we moved, and then we were trying to get a hanger. So it's been a long journey to get to this point, but I know a lot of you are excited, maybe not necessarily for the unboxing video per se, but this does mean we'll be able to do small batch baits, or small large batches, if you will, and then hopefully we can get into doing some bait drops similar to what Adam does over at his channel at SDG, so all of you can get your hands on some 8-bit baits. I know a lot of you have been asking. I get the messages in the comments all the time, so this is our first step into moving into that kind of minor sort of production, small scale production. So super excited to finally unbox the shooting star. As I mentioned, October 2023 is when we actually received it after the wait list and everything, because there was a shortage of parts back then, and it's been sitting here wrapped up ever since. So we are going to unbox it here today, try and put it together, get it all set up, and I'm super excited because we're gonna get this all set up. So once we come back from the Bait Makers Meetup, which is happening next weekend, so if you're watching this, so every year Amanda from Epic Bait Molds puts together an Epic Bait Makers Meetup. So if you're watching this in the future and the Bait Makers Meetup has already happened, make sure to check in with Epic Bait Molds social media platforms. There's always information on when the next Bait Makers Meetup is happening. But this year, 2026, Saddler's Creek, I believe is what it's called. Saddler's Creek Resort State Park, Lake Hartwell, South Carolina. So hope to see all of you there. I'm not going to waste any time. We are diving right into the unboxing. Actually, before I dive in, I forgot to mention one thing I do remember. One of the shortage of parts was, I think, the heating element or something of that nature. So this actually was shipped separately in an envelope, and I put it in here so I would not lose it. But this was received separately. I wrapped it up like this, by the way. Ultra Molds didn't ship it like this. I did this so it would stay protected. But the heating elements shipped separately. So I do have separate heating elements to install once we get to that step of the setup process. All right, so when we dive in, we're first met with this nice styrofoam protective piece on top, which I really like. So when you cut it open, your knife's not going to damage anything. You can maybe even see the score knife from my knife right there. So I really like the fact that this is here to protect it when you open the box. But this is where the fun begins. When you take the piece of foam insulation off, you can see we are met with a ton of popcorn foam, everyone's favorite packing material. This may be shipped this way, perhaps because it's the most cost effective. Perhaps it is even the highest way, most protective way, I'm trying to say, of, shielding the shooting star from damage. Ultra Molds ships a lot of these, so I'm sure they know what they're doing. I'm just not personally a huge fan of popcorn styrofoam in an instance like this, because you can already see we have little foam shavings that are breaking off and getting into all the little orifices, and especially when it comes into an injection system, we want to keep all those orifices clear. All right, so I'm not a fan when popcorn can get into tiny places, but again, I'm sure they know what they're doing. This is just my own initial reaction. So not good, not bad. This isn't meant to be a review. I know I'm going to love the Shooting Star, but lots of people love it. It's a great machine. So not a knock, just letting you know my thoughts and opinions kind of as we go through this. This is a different video than I would normally do on my channel, but I don't think anyone's really reviewing equipment in this way, so I definitely wanted to at least give my perspective as someone who's a product manager for a living on, you know, what it is we're spending our hard-earned money on, because I did pay for this out of my own pocket. So yeah, no rules apply. All right, there's a lot of bits and pieces in here, so I think before I try and excavate all the popcorn out of here, let's get out what we can to kind of reduce the volume of popcorn. So looks like we have one of our standalone heating elements. Now, I did order a separate injector heater block, and I think I ordered both injectors. I don't really remember, to be honest with you, so that could all be in here. But so far we have one of our heating elements here. We have, all right, what is this? This appears to be one of the lids. Again, you can see my favorite, styrofoam absolutely everywhere. Okay, these look like, oh, both of our lids. All right, we got both of our lids stacked together, and again, styrofoam in all our favorite places. Here we go. We got our heating gloves, our super heavy duty hot gloves. Very nice. All right, this appears to be one of our stirring motors here. All right, we got a mystery box of parts over here. Let's scooch away some of the styrofoam from this side. Here we go. All right, another heating element. All right, looks like we have another motor, perhaps the right side. All right, we got a couple of power cables here. Here's our third heating element. Ooh, another mystery box. Number 2. Mystery box number 2. All right, I think that is it here on the top layer. We're going to go ahead and get a garbage can, and then we'll flip this down on its side. We'll rotate it down and get as much of the foam out as we can. This is all one big assembled unit, and the reason I don't want to just lift it up and out is because if you see here, there is a layer of insulation and an outer cover for the outside edge of the Shooting Star pots, and I've heard many horror stories where people just grab it by the center and they go to lift it up and out of the box, and then they end up pulling the insides out, and it's really pain in the butt to get the insulated skirts back on. So we're going to empty out all of the popcorn first, and then try and take it out as one big solid assembly. All right, the whole thing wants to tilt. All right, so that's good. I'm going to watch these prongs here. That's lovely. That's lovely. Oh yeah, that's what we like to see. All right, and here we go. We have our Shooting Star filled with styrofoam. All right, let's set this on the bench and we'll get this cleaned up. And of course, I got no room on the bench. Move these. We got sample bags that we're making, little sample packs, that Bait Makers meetup I mentioned. If y'all are coming, we got 8-bit grab bags for you. Let me set this down. Oh, there we go. Find a new home for these. All right, now let's see what we can do to minimize the mess. We want all this to come out on this side so it falls in the garbage can. Let's peel this back here. All right, now we have what looks to be our base unit here in the bottom. Oh, we got two injectors on the side here. So we got the 1-to-1, and I think this must be the swirl. I think I still need to order the 2-to-1 injector, so we will have to get on that right away. All right, and the base appears to be screwed into that piece of wood at the bottom. Now I've seen a lot of people leave theirs fully attached to that piece of wood, but I think we are going to actually disassemble ours, at least unbolt it from that included piece of OSP, and perhaps bolt it right to our workbench. All right, turning it upside down so you can see, again, the styrofoam falling out of every single orifice. Not a huge fan of the popcorn foam. But there it is. Shooting Star Mini is in the house. I love it. All right, bait chuckers. So we've hit the part where I've run into some of my first criticisms with the machine after kind of getting all the styrofoam off of it and inspecting it for a little bit. Now, I just want to state, when I give these criticisms, this is not, bashing ultra molds in any way, shape, or form. I think that it's really awesome, in fact, that companies are even making this type of small scale manufacturing equipment for us bait makers. I mean, I don't care if you're getting a shooting star from Ultra Molds, if you're getting a hot plate over there from Kyle at Fishing All Out. Not many people are making tools. Even I think you got the Tournament Pro Presto pots, right? Great innovations for us bait makers to be able to do small scale, larger batches than 1-2 cups at a time. So I'm really simply giving my perspective as a product manager, someone who's been doing product management and product development for the last 20 years of my professional career. I can tell you first glance, all the pieces here that are machined by Rupert and his team over there at Ultra Molds, really high quality work. So no dissatisfaction whatsoever. Just a few tweaks I think could take a great product and make it even better, if you will. So that's kind of the purpose. With all that being said, let me get you in here and I'll show you some of the real kind of nitpicky stuff that I'm talking about. All right, I'm going to try and get you in as close as I can here. If we look at this top sheet here, you can see it's nice, smooth machined finish. And if we look at this kind of top rail right there, it has a machine seamed edge, meaning that means a machine has come along and kind of hit that 90-degree angle with an edge. So that way it's not sharp to the touch. It's not going to hurt your fingers whatsoever. But the bottom side here, this bottom edge, that is unseamed. That is extremely coarse and sharp, and really a safety hazard. I mean, someone's going to come sideways, hit the bottom of that, and slice their hand open. So that's not good. That's bad news bears. And if we come over here to the side, you can see that we have nice seamed edges on the sides of this thin sheet metal, but again, the underside of the top, not seamed, and it's even worse on the sides because we kind of have like a double edge. You have the edge of the bracket holding the base unit together, and then you have the secondary edge of the plate over top, the kind of larger protective plate. So I just feel like, all this work has been gone into sanding and smoothing the top, and you can see there's beautiful labels here for mini versus large shooting star. All the bolts are labeled, but then to leave the bottom piece unfinished, I get it. I know it's another machining process, and machine time is money. Totally understand that, but I don't know. I mean, there's initials for M and L for large and mini on the other bolts. I feel like perhaps we could trade off machine time, just reduce these to L&M, and the same amount of time it would take you to machine out the spellings, you could hit the edge, the bottom edge there with a seam. Just some input here on the machining side of things. I know there's reasons for all of this cost, I'm sure, being primary because time is money on a machine, but leaving that edge raw like that, I'm just not a fan. Not a deal breaker, but just a safety concern. I'm going to have to come by with a file myself now and hit this just so I don't, you know, slice my knuckles open. Another nitpicky thing here is if you look at my switches here, the power switches. Now again, this could have been a mistake, or this could be the way they do it, but the lights both face inward. This is a little confusing. I'm assuming, you know, when the light's on, you're going to be turning on the actual heating element. That's what that switch is for, because you have speed control here on left and right. And perhaps they did it to make everything, you know, symmetrical, which I understand. But if you look at the display units, they're not backwards, right? You got digital display on the left, buttons on the right, digital display on the left, buttons on the right, but then the power buttons are reversed. So I have to, you know, right turns on the left side, and then over here, you know, pushing left turns on the right side. I don't know. I think it's a little confusing. I think, you know, just pick a standard. Left is off, right is on. The same way here, down is off, up is on. There's some standards I think you could stick to, and I don't think people would mind. And maybe, again, it was done to look cool and look symmetrical, but I think this is a case where function really kind of overrules design here, and I think you should just put your switches a standard way to make it less confusing for folks. And last but not least on the base, let's talk about these little guys right here. Now, I understand this board is used for packaging, and it's meant to be unscrewed from here and bolted to your workstation. That's what we're going to do. We're going to bolt it here. But, you know, this is an 1.5 inch thick workbench. I think maybe even 1 3/4 inches. And I think most workbenches, if the whole purpose is to bolt this to a workbench, they might want something a little bit bigger than this tiny little machine bolt. And again, I understand this was done for packaging purposes, but you know, that means the hole that's drilled in this sheet metal bracket is most likely not very big. Now, I could stand corrected when I unscrew this, but I may have to widen that out to put in a sizable bolt so I can, you know, run through my 1.5 3/4 workbench. This could be a particular use case just to me, but I feel like if most people are going to be bolting it to the workbench, because I've used Adam's shooting star, and I know some people just like to clamp it, but I see people just wrench on their shooting stars, leaning into it and sucking the plastic out. So if there's a lot of, you know, push and pull, I just feel like these bolts might not be strong enough. I mean, maybe they will be, only time will tell, but I will probably drill these out so I can use a larger bolt. Again, not a deal breaker, but if this is meant for commercial use, you know, just something to think about. That's all. Again, just simple product criticisms, ways I'd love to see the machine improve. Not a knock on it by any means, but again, just so far with unboxing, these are kind of the first areas I'm like, I'm surprised they made those design choices. So, you know, just kind of documenting that for all of you, and hopefully Ultramolds gets to see this and they can you know, do what they want with the information. All right, so landed out, taking a look at the full spread here. We have got the main unit there. We have got both of our injectors, our 1-to-1 as well as a swirl injector. We got the heat gloves that come with it, our 2 blue power cables, our 3 heating elements, 2 for the actual shooting star, 1 for the extra injector heater. We got our top lids, and then our set of heater temperature probes. That's, I believe, what those are. We opened up our mystery box, met with more styrofoam on the inside. We'll have to take care of that, but there was another set of those temperature probes in this box as well. So I'm not sure why those ones shipped separately, which one I should use. Probably use those, I think. Maybe there was an issue with these. Now I have to call Ultramolds and figure it out. But it looks like we have the rest of our bits and assembly pieces here inside the little mystery box here. So that's good. All of our connectors and screws and everything. We have our left and right stir motors here labeled L and R. So that's pretty cool. They labeled those there. This is our extra heating element for the injector. So our extra injector heater there, that's where that extra kind of plug heating element plugs into. And then we have the main shooting star elements themselves. So that is basically, you know, the whole kit as it is right there. And then we're going to go ahead and get this unbolted. We're going to get it mounted to the table here. Maybe not fully mounted at first. I might assemble it on here so then I can slide it around and kind of see where I want it. And then we'll remove it from the bottom base and then get an idea of where exactly we're going to mount it. But the idea is permanent fixture here on the right side of the workbench next to the power. And then we got room, we'll do the old swapperoo, we'll bring the air vise right here next to it. So we'll have air vise, shooting star next to each other for production. And then we'll have our hot plate kind of slid over. So we'll swap positions with those two. We'll get some airlines run eventually for the air vise. So super excited to see it all kind of come together right here. We'll be using our French cleat system here to make some racks so we can kind of de-lid the motors and the lids from the shooting star and hang those right there. So we'll obviously have to rearrange some of the shop furniture as well. But so far, this is what we're looking at. Everything is unboxed and ready for assembly. Okay, one thing I wanted to show y'all very quickly is that I did go ahead and unbolt the unit from the board. I decided, you know what? Well, we're going to mount it anyways before we just, going to assemble it. Let's take a look underneath. Do we need to vacuum it? And we certainly do, because the underneath is fully exposed. So I'm glad I kind of opened this up. So when I mount it to the table, I'm actually going to lay down one of my silicone mats. Because if there's ever a spark or a wire falls down, I at least want to give some type of barrier between the, the potential fire hazard and the wood workbench that I have underneath. So definitely going to use a silicone mat for sure. I would also recommend a silicone mat or something underneath this as a barrier. If those of you are mounting it to a stainless steel tabletop or an aluminum tabletop, if one of these electrical wires were to fall down and hit the table, I would not want to be touching that table. So again, just a plate on the bottom would be cool. Another little nitpick, not a big deal. It is a piece of equipment, so I know costs are certainly involved here, but just be aware that the bottom is open. So if you are using it attached here to this piece of OSB, which I know a lot of you guys are, you do have exposed wires underneath. So I'm glad I lifted that up. I'm definitely going to install one of my silicone mats. I'll just punch some holes through it so I can drill and mount it properly to the table, and then at least I'll have a mat kind of protecting the table from the potential fire hazards. All right, and here we are taking a look at the unit after the end of watching the first setup video. I've gone ahead and I've got the legs put on here, and they are loose so I can move them around so it looks like a proper pot system, as Rupert would say. And then I have my motors all set up, but unfortunately, and I was afraid this was going to happen after waiting 3 years to unbox this, I'm missing some parts. So I don't have the standoff leg set to bolt the left motor onto the left side plate right there. So I don't know, they sent me the extra heating element back then, and I have two, and I'm wondering if it wasn't the leg standoff that was supposed to be, that was sent separately by mistake. I'm not sure. So I will get a hold of Ultra Molds and get that taken care of. So I don't know that we'll be able to do a full function test, but we won't let that stop us. Now, the only thing I'm tempted to do, though, speaking of these, temperature probes, it mentions in the video that the temperature probes go in here. But so far, if you follow the first setup video, Rupert says just to flip this right side up and move on to the next step. So I assume we'll come back to these later. But my OCD really wants to insert the temperature probe and tighten these while I have it facing up, because why? I mean, it's already facing up. Why? I don't want to flip it again. So what do I do? And then does it go on the inside or does it go on the outside? I'm not sure, but I might have to watch ahead for research purposes, and I'll come back and let you all know what we decided to do. Okay, update after watching video part 3. We got the stirrers fully installed, and I used a little bit of ingenuity, and you'll notice that we have both motors up and running. Well, we did have a total of 4 bolts for the one right side, so I just kind of broke it up diagonally and did 2 and 2. So at least for the sake of the video, you know, we can run just on 2 and 2 for now. I definitely don't recommend that. I'm going to contact Ultramolds and get another set of legs and bolts for those. But for now, for sake of the video and for sake of setup, we are going strong. Still haven't flipped over yet because I want to know, why are we waiting so long to put the probe inside and bolt this piece down? My OCD really wants to get this on, but I think we're approaching this in the next setup video, video number 4, I believe, in the series. So we're diving into that right now. All right, and we have wrapped up final assembly. We kind of watched episodes 4, 5, 6 all together. You can kind of watch them all mashed up, and turns out you can actually install this beforehand. So you can go ahead, and that's what I did. I installed the thermometer probes on the inside of each heating unit here because I wanted to get the measurement as close to the center as possible for both colors. Measuring the outside of the pot doesn't do me any good if it's a few temperature degrees warmer here in the center where they're going to join together and laminate out. So that's where I chose to set mine up. Because you can do it on both sides, I assume you have the option, but the probe input here was on the inside of each unit, so I figured, well, fitting with the theme, I'll just keep my probes on the inside to match up along with the electrical connectors. So you have the plugs from the wall. We have these 2 individual plugs here. Now this is the mini, so it doesn't require its own circuit. However, I do have an individual circuit for each the left and the right, because I can already tell you from looking at the size, it's surprisingly smaller than I expected for some reason. We might have a full-size shooting star ahead of us in our future because we got the power for it right here. So we're going to go ahead and get this flipped around. We have our front plates assembled on here, and then we'll get it flipped around and tighten those up. All right, and here we are, all plugged in, all powered up. Left and right each have their own individual circuit back there. Our motors are working. We have our mixing plates on the correct direction as to not cause any turbulence. Pretty awesome stuff. So there we go, shooting star. It is up, connected. We'll have to do some fine tuning. I'm still going to go through and adjust this. I'm going to wait to bolt it down because I want to see once I get the brackets made, because let me shut this off. I want to get brackets made on the French cleat. So I really like Daniel's system over at Bent Rod Fishing, where he can kind of lift his system up and out and hang it behind him. So really just kind of get the lid and stir up out of the way and hang it somewhere. So maybe up here on the French cleat wall, we'll make some kind of a bracket. So a little bit more, you know, fine tuning to go before we're actually up running producing baits. It's obviously not screwed down, but I am going to just basically, wherever it sits, poke holes through the silicone mat, so that way I have, again, that silicone mat is going to act as a protective barrier for all of those electronics underneath. Small risk, but just you know, if I'm going to mount it to the table, I'm going to spend the extra little bit, get a little silicone baking sheet. It doesn't need to be an 8-bit one, but I would recommend using some kind of a you know, silicone mat or something to protect any electrical connection between anything that could go wrong underneath there and the surface that you have underneath. And there you go, bait chuckers. The shooting star is fully operational. Like I said, we'll go ahead and tighten these down off camera. No need to bore you all with that setup video. We'll go ahead and get that taken care of. We'll find the right spot for everything. We'll get it bolted down, and I can't wait because this is the first step into starting to move into production quality baits, or at least some type of, micro production on a smaller scale. So super excited to finally get the shooting star operational here inside of Area 52. We have the air vise to get set up. Obviously we have the hot plate ready to go here as well. But the focus of today's video is the shooting star. So this is kind of like my unbiased, unfiltered unboxing / initial review. Would I purchase again? Yes, 100%, absolutely. In fact, I'm already looking at potentially getting a full-size shooting star because of the size of the two hoppers here. I think this is going to be great to start and to learn on, but I definitely see, at least for myself and my business, what I plan to do moving forward. Eventually, I could see us upgrading to a larger unit. Machine quality, build quality, fit, finish, all fantastic. Really, the only couple things I would say to improve is to kind of watch the, just the raw metal edges. I know I went back and watched the setup videos. Rupert mentions be careful of the edges, especially around the outside shielding here, because it is thin metal. There's not really much you can do with that edge. But some of these other edges, I feel like could be seamed slightly better. So really, that's about the only improvement out of the box that I would make. So overall, very happy. I am missing these the posts and screws, but I'm sure that's no issue. I'll give them a call. I, in fact, have to order the 2-to-1 injector anyways. All I got was the swirl and the 1-to-1 injector. So definitely going to order the 2-to-1 injector. Also, I seen there's a tool that you can open and close the nozzles when you're cleaning the machine. So I'll probably pick one of those up as well. So I got another visit to the Ultramolds website happening anyways. I'll shoot them an email and I'm sure we'll get those taken care of. So yeah, if you enjoyed this video, everybody, let me know what you think in the comments down below. If you liked it, make sure to hype the video as well as giving it the thumbs up. If you're new here, please don't forget to subscribe if you enjoyed the video. We are so close, 200 subscribers away from hitting 10,000. We're almost there, everybody, almost there. Until next time, bait chuckers, you'll know who it is. Your friend on this end, Michael, out here around these Delta sloughs, reminding you to keep on chucking. I'll get back with you.